Hello everybody and welcome to the War Room. This one is for this weekend's new main event, the middleweight fight between Marvin Vettori and Kevin Holland. Okay, so where do we start with this one? So obviously Kevin Holland is coming off that recent fight against Derek Brunson, which was a really odd fight. It was almost like he couldn't get into it and he kind of undermined himself psychologically. And I don't think it was a good account of what Kevin Holland has to offer. And I think that Vettori is a different fight entirely for him. So first of all, let's start with Marvin Vettori. Obviously, he's coming off that great win over Jack Hermansson. He's a tough, durable, well-rounded fighter. There's not a particular facet of his game that stands out above everything else as being, this is what Marvin Vettori does. You know, you look at Derek Brunson, and Derek Brunson's a wrestler. You look at Kevin Holland, and obviously, you know, he's a kung fu guy, but he's also got that Brazilian jiu-jitsu background as well, which means that he's kind of a pick your poison for Vettori. So Vettori, tough, durable, takes a shot very well. He's very rigid. He's very stiff in the way that he moves, which there's a benefit to that. I think a lot of the whipping shots that you'll see coming from Kevin Holland, a lot of that can be negated by just being strong enough to just withstand those shots. Kevin Holland doesn't generate stuff with loads of power every time. It's the occasional shot that creeps through that's got power in it. The thing that's going to be challenging for Vettori on the feet is the unpredictability of Kevin Holland. Now, the original fight obviously was Darren Till, and I think that's much more of a black and white kind of fight because you've got Darren Till who adamantly wants to fight on the feet. He wants to kick box. He's going to stand southpaw. He's going to aggressively back you up against the fence. He's going to be high on his toes, and he's going to keep posturing that left hand. So that gives Vettori a clear path to, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. So this is the game plan I'm going to put into place for Darren Till. Now, the breakdown that I was going to do on this fight, which I'm sure at some point we'll get to, it leaned slightly more towards Vettori on grappling because I feel like Vettori is a career middleweight. I think, no, is he a career middleweight? No, I think he was a welterweight. He's a big middleweight anyway, like naturally thick, heavily muscled. Darren Till's still finding his feet in the middleweight division, but he is very big as well. But I think if I'm Vettori, I'm thinking to myself, if I get in top position, I can maul him, I can wear him out, I can attack his neck, I can beat him up, I can take the life out of him, take the sting out of his arms, and probably win the fight in a similar way that he did against Hermansson. For Kevin Holland, it's a different kind of prospect because you've got someone who, if it hits the floor, not only are you dealing with a very unpredictable jiu-jitsu game, but you've also got that weird striking power that he showed in the Jacare fight. So that there are additional risks when Vettori hits the floor. He still may very much feel like he can take Holland down and just drown him on the canvas. I mean, that's what Brunson did. And what was disappointing from that fight is that Kevin Holland wasn't really throwing anything back. You know, being a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, you would expect when he's got full guard for that period of time that he would have been trying to instigate some kind of finish, you know, triangles or something off his back, but he wasn't even really striking a great deal. And I think they're the two facets that would make Vettori weary of moving to the floor. One is the fact that he's got stinging power from the bottom, which is very odd. And two, you know, that stinging power coupled with arm bars and triangles, that attack makes his guard and guard passing very dangerous. So with that in mind, Vettori might decide, you know what, I'm going to keep this fight standing. I'm going to test my power against his dynamic unpredictability. And then you've got a very basic, strong skill set from Vettori that you can kind of bank on what he's going to do against an unpredictable, unorthodox striking style of Kevin Holland, who he doesn't know what he's going to do. Now, there are vulnerabilities to Vettori's game, and we saw a lot of those exposed when he fought Adesanya. He does bite hard on feints. He's, like I said, he's very rigid in the way that he throws his strikes. So what you'll notice is, obviously, southpaw. When he's throwing his left hand, you'll notice that as he throws it, it's almost like he's got a tightness in his midsection, and it pulls the punch short. Because when he's landing, the punch is there, but his right hand is up like this. It's like Let me see if I can do it towards the camera to make more sense. So he's here and he's in his stance. Then he goes, ha, like this. Instead of twisting all the way through and getting the full extension on the punch, he pulls it short. It's very similar to what Stipe Miocic does, and obviously it can be effective for Stipe, and it can be effective for Holland, for Vettori as well. I think it's effective from top position, and I think it's effective from short range, but only one of those two things is a possibility against Kevin Holland without too much of a risk. Now, if he's in top position on the ground, he can fire those short power punches without giving Holland too much space to counter strike, throw up triangles, etc., etc. If he's on the feet, he has to get close to Holland in order to land those punches, and there's a possibility that he's going to throw them from too far out and get punished on the way in. Like, because Holland is so loose and so confident, you know, he's coming off a 5-round fight, which means that, you know, the canvas under his feet is going to feel very familiar. And I know it's not been long since Vettori fought, but you know, if you do something one weekend and then you go and do the same thing the next weekend, it feels very comfortable to you. And whether that's 1 or 2 or 3 weekends in between, there's not a long period of time there for him to become, resensitized to the atmosphere of the apex of the octagon. The other thing you've got to keep in mind with Kevin Holland as well is that he's coming off a very disappointing performance, and whatever bravado that comes with it, I'm not interested in being the champion, etc., etc. He knows he shit the bed on that fight. It could have been so much better. It could have been a real turning point of his career, that fight, and he just wasn't able to get past Brunson, who is a little bit of a gatekeeper in the top of the middleweight division. He might be coming in here with something major to prove against Marvin Vettori. He might feel like Vettori is a better opportunity for him to really show his skills. So we might see an even more relaxed, more fluid, more dynamic Kevin Holland that's stinging Vettori on the outside while Vettori is trying to walk his way into range and land that short left. And you know, Vettori's takedowns aren't. He's not a dominant wrestler. He's got good takedowns, but a lot of that is down to his physicality and his power. There, again, opportunities where Kevin Holland can reverse. He can, you know, he's got good balance. He's got long legs, difficult to take down. Once it lands, he's got good butterfly hooks as well, can start elevating. The basic underlying point to make across all of this is that Vettori's a tank. You know, he's a tough, durable individual who is able to take shots to get himself into range and do his work. But there are no standout parts of his game. There's nothing that he's exceptional at. He's just very good at everything across the board. Kevin Holland, we're still not really quite sure where his potential is, but we know that he's got a flair in the striking game, and that can be real problematic for guys who are already good strikers. You know, he can be difficult to hit. He can punish you from weird angles when you're moving in to try and strike him. And he deals well with guys that have got, you know, that are shorter than him. I mean, there's a serious reach advantage for him in this fight. Let me just have a quick look at the stats there. So, more experience for Kevin Holland, slightly shorter fight time, which obviously means, you know, he's a bit more of a finisher. But again, that stat for Vettori will be pushed up given the fact that he's just done 5 rounds as well. Height, 3-inch advantage for Kevin Holland. A massive reach advantage. I mean, we're talking 7 inches. It's 74 inches for Vettori, which is the same as my arms, compared to Kevin Holland, who's got an 81-inch reach. And this lists him as southpaw, but obviously there's a flexibility to that as well. Now, interestingly, Marvin Vettori's got a higher strike rate, but he, like I said, he has to get close to Kevin Holland to do that. So if he can get close, if he can close him down, get the fight to the floor where he's in a position to strike, that higher striking rate is going to serve him well because he can pepper Kevin Holland with, you know, 2-3 more punches in the same time. Of course, that's going to be beneficial. Now, his striking accuracy is 45% compared to Kevin Holland, who's at 56%. A part of the reason for that is because he falls short a lot of the time. A part of it is because he transitions through range by punching, not with the intention of landing. He uses punches to bridge the gap sometimes. They're the times when that extra reach advantage for Kevin Holland with his spinning back fists and his, you know, those flicky kind of unorthodox kung fu techniques that he sprinkles in, they're the kind of techniques that he's going to be walking onto as he's doing that. Strikes absorbed per minute, again, slightly higher for Marvin Vettori. It just reaffirms the fact that he is tough and he is durable and he will take a punch. Doesn't mean he should, but I think he's going to have to in this fight. When it comes to their grappling, now Marvin Vettori's got a slightly higher takedown rate, and his takedown defense is slightly higher. Takedown accuracy is largely the same, as well as their submission average, but you've got to think that Kevin Holland's submission ability it's of a more technical level than Marvin Vettori. Vettori's got some good subs on his record, but it's almost like he has to either catch them cold. What's he got? 9 submissions on his record. It's like he either has to catch them cold early or he has to beat it out of them. So if we just go down Marvin Vettori's record, I'm just going to have a look at this. So we start off with a loss, but then he goes on a 5-fight win streak, and all of them are submissions. So we've got 3 rear naked chokes in a row, all in the first round. Then we've got a triangle choke and then a toe hold, again, all in the first round. So that's 5 first round submissions right there. Then he picks up a decision loss. Then he goes on another win streak. So we've got a TKO, we've got a standing guillotine, both first round, a decision, and then we've got a first round KO from a knee, a first round guillotine, and another first round guillotine. So jumping on something when the opponent's cold is absolutely a possibility for Marvin Vettori, and that's when he's fully charged, fully strong. I've got this guillotine, I've got this rear naked choke. Imagine for a second if Kevin Holland's moving in with something unorthodox and he just gets cuffed with one of those short left hands, and then he's rocked and he's unstable, he goes down. Then you've got Marvin Vettori on your back, working chokes, working those short range punches. That is problematic, no doubt about it. Since he's come to the UFC, there have been more decisions. He's been facing a higher level of opposition. He's been facing guys that are better conditioned. They're tougher. They're more aware of various different striking ranges. But he's still had a good account of himself. The Jack Hermansson performance for me was a standout, and I don't know as this is. I mean, he'll benefit a lot from this because it's Kevin Holland, who fights regularly. He's in the public eye a lot more, and people are aware of how skilled and dangerous he is. But there's still a major risk here because Kevin Holland's stock has suffered from that Derek Brunson fight. So it's Vettori that's actually taking the risk here and opening the door for him. I actually feel like Vettori's a bit further along. There's still a lot to be gained here by Kevin Holland. It's almost like he's got a rerun of his opportunity against Brunson. But Vettori's conditioned. He was prepared to fight, and he's in a good place psychologically because he's taken this one. It's getting close to Kevin Holland is going to be the challenge. He's going to have to rely on his ability to take a punch. He's going to have to move through range when he's not exactly sure what's going to be coming back at him, because unlike, I've just recorded the Bellator breakdown with Machida and Bader. Unlike Machida, he has a variety of different stories that he's playing out at the same time. So if you're running into his range, he's got a jumping knee, he's got a counter right, he's got a body kick that's waiting for you. He's got that front kick to the face if you stand outside for too long. There are a few things that he's playing at the same time. There's a couple of, he's got a few hands all playing the same card game. For Kevin Holland, it's like he's pulling a card out the deck randomly and throwing it on the table. He doesn't exactly know what's coming next himself. So there are opportunities for him to force him to make bad decisions to close distance. But again, that comes with pressure. I was disappointed with Kevin Holland's performance the other week, and I think maybe psychologically he showed he's not ready to be in this top echelon of the middleweight division. I think Marvin Vettori has got the psychology, but I'm not sure as his skills match where his confidence and his conditioning is, and that's what we're going to see. Because as he starts moving up, let me just pull the rankings up. As he starts moving up into this middleweight division, he gets back into that pool of Adesanya's, where he's dealing with guys that have got a mastery of a skill set. And I'm not necessarily saying that he's got that here with Kevin Holland, but he's certainly got someone that's got a vast skill set. And because they're unpredictable and confident, it makes them very dangerous. But okay, so Marvin Vettori is at number 6 here. Now, I feel like him moving into that top 5 where you've got Till, Brunson, Cannonier, Costa, Whitaker, and then obviously Izzy as the champ. He's gonna have to finally tune an element of his game, or maybe a couple, because he needs some standout skill sets. Like Darren Till's got good takedown defense, but his standout skill set by far and a long way is his Thai boxing. Derek Brunson, although he's got good power in his hands, his skill set by far and a long way is his wrestling. Jared Cannonier is a devastating striker. Paulo Costa has got really good conditioning and a hell of a pace. You know, like I would say Paulo Costa is probably the weakest guy in this top 5 as far as technical ability goes. But at the same time, you know, he's I mean, it'd be a good fight. I'm going to leave it there because I think Vettori could cause Paulo Costa issues, but the other guys in the division, the likes of Whitaker and Brunson, Cannonier even perhaps, and certainly Till as well, they've got such a refined skill set in one area that they're always going to be dangerous, especially if you can't force them out of that range. Whereas Kevin Holland, he's got this nice scattering of high-level skills and no real structure to hold it together, which just makes him, it makes him an unknown commodity. And I respect Vettori for taking this fight, especially on this short notice, with a very different kind of opponent to what he was originally lined up for. But it's going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it, and I will certainly be tuned in. Enjoy the fights. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.